In this video, we'll be going over the methods that I use to ensure that my career mode missions are successful 99% of the time. I wish it were 100% of the time, but in reality, it's more like 99%. I still crash the desktop and so forth every so often. So let's see what missions we got coming out of Philly. Usually we get some nice fat payouts. Here's one for 16 million. Yep, there's that Athens flight for 18. That's usually the top of the table. So we're gonna do that flight. So where is it? So we're heading to Athens for 18 million. What I'm going to show you here is what I do that I have found sort of helps with the stability. This is not part of it. I just always sell my fuel because why not make an extra 500k in every flight? Okay, so I just also wasted checkup money because I actually haven't played career mode for a little while, so I wasn't sure the condition of the aircraft. It actually is a very new aircraft as well. Okay, so step one, guys, and I'll explain this in more detail later on, but the first thing you're going to want to do is you pull up your EFB and you're going to remove every single waypoint. Now while I'm doing this, let me just quickly say there are a couple different ways you can fly these missions. You can do it the 100% legitimate air pilot way. Sometimes that's fun to do, but today we're going to be taking an approach that is more centered around grinding credits. So we don't want any waypoints. Now I can even remove procedures, which I like to do, and just go direct, right? So change procedure and go direct. However, if you want to, using this method that I'm using, if you want to ensure the highest pilot rating, then there are a couple extra steps that we will use, and leaving the ILS approach procedure is, we need to leave that there. But I'm not going to be flying the whole way there with my sim rate increased, and I'm not going to be skipping to descent either. I'm going to be transporting my plane using the FS flight controls tool, which you don't have to do. It's not really part of this methodology that I'm using, but I like to use it just to speed things along and to ensure that I get my max payout. So go ahead and file with ATC, send route avionics. Now we're gonna hit fly. Alright, so first big mistake that people make sometimes, but I think you will learn very quickly what not to do where this one is concerned, is obviously we are not gonna skip to taxi. You have to complete all of the ground procedures before you can skip to taxi.
It's a real pleasure to be flying together again.
So I do like to pull up the ATC window in case I need to like to pull up the ATC window in case I have to speed along one of the mission steps. So I'm gonna, as the mission steps come up,
Philadelphia,
I'm gonna hit them, but I like to hit them one at a time.
Could you please get the
You
passengers
see,
on board?
it's my perception
Boeing Charlie
that
Alpha Lima 8111 ramp is on its way.
the sim can become confused when there are too many animations happening at the same time. So I could go ahead and request baggage here now, but that's two things that the sim has to process, and sometimes it can send it out of whack. So what I'll actually do sometimes is speed up the sim rate a little bit to get these animations moving a little bit quicker so that they're kind of locked in. But especially where boarding passengers is concerned, sometimes it just takes too long and you have to move on while it's still happening, and then even request that it stops. So whilst they're taking their time to board, I will go ahead and send in the
Philadelphia,
request for the
ground,
baggage.
Boeing, Charlie Alpha Lima,
Lima
8111. Could you please send the
is on the
baggage?
way.
Now usually, especially with the baggage going and the passengers being boarded, I'd wait until that
Luggage
baggage
loading
door
now complete.
closes, and then I'll request catering.
Philadelphia, ground, Boeing, Charlie Alpha Lima, 8111. Could you please send the catering truck?
And what I've
Boeing
noticed in the
Charlie
past is
Alpha
if I
Lima
just
8,
spam through right
111,
away
the
and
catering
request
truck is on
everything
the
and
road.
request IFR, the sim becomes what I like to call confused, and then sometimes I don't get the option to taxi to runway, and that's the first major hurdle. If you don't get that option and you end up taking off and flying to the other airport, when you arrive at the other airport you might get weird signs like skip to takeoff, and it won't register as though you have even left this airport. So we want to make sure that the sim recognizes and registered that yes, I've left this airport. So catering is done, baggage is done, boarding is taking its time. I'm not gonna wait for boarding. And guys, just to let you know that even when you speed through these things and you do get bugged, there's a simple fix that works most of the time when you actually get to that other airport. But in this case, I'm going to try my best to not let it get bugged, to make sure we get all the clearance approvals before we take off. But I am going to request that boarding stop.
Philadelphia,
Need completed
ground,
boarding,
Boeing,
Captain.
Charlie Alpha Lima, 8111. I'm done with the boarding.
Now I'm going to request IFR
Philadelphia,
clearance.
ground, Boeing, Charlie Alpha Lima, 8111. Ready to
And
copy.
I reset
IFR
my
clearance
sim
to
rate back
Eleftherios,
to
Venizelos.
standard rate.
Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111 is cleared to Eleftherios Venizelos Airport via the Papa Hotel, Lima Tree departure expect, runway 27L maintain 11,000 feet departure frequency is 119er, 75 squawk 2652.
Alright, we got our clearance. I'm waiting for the read back.
Clear to Eleftherios,
Right.
Venizelos via the Papa Hotel Lima Tree departure runway 27L maintain 11,000 feet departure frequency is 119er. 75 squawk 2652.
So
Boeing
notice I
Charlie
haven't
Alpha
messed with
Lima,
any of
8111.
the controls, right? I've not dialed in
Boeing
any of
Charlie
my
Alpha 50%
altitude,
fuel capacity.
autopilot,
Correct.
speed, heading.
Contact
I
ground on
haven't touched the
121.
MFS. I've done
65
none of
when
those
ready to
things
taxi. Good
because
day.
I don't want the sim to get confused with anything. So I'm just going through my clearances first.
Philadelphia, ground Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima, 8111 requesting pushback.
Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111 pushback request accepted.
So now we wait for
Tobar in
our
place,
pushback.
Captain.
Sometimes the pushback will complete on its own, and then sometimes it will just keep pushing you all the way off the map. If it looks like that's gonna happen, you're gonna want to request pushback, but I like to give it a fair chance
You're clear to start engines.
and see if pushback will end on its own. If it does, that's a good signal that I'm not gonna get bugged on the clearance to take off. And if it is moving slow, I could bump up the sim rate once or twice, maybe 3 times. I prefer to go 2.
Pushback complete, Captain.
Right, sim rate back down, pushback is complete. Now at this point I could just skip to takeoff, but it's much better to request taxi clearance and get your taxi
Philadelphia
clearance.
ground Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111
Boeing Charlie
with Echo
Alpha
ready to
Lima
taxi IFR.
8111 taxi to and hold short of runway 27L using taxiway Juliet. 1 Juliet Romeo Kilo Kilo 4 cross runway 9er L November Sierra Tree. Contact tower on 118. Fife when ready.
Perfect. So we have our taxi ribbon, which is a great sign.
Runway 27L using taxiway Juliet 1 Juliet Romeo Kilo Kilo 4 cross runway 9er L November Sierra Tree. Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111.
Now, the further away the hole short is the more chance for error and the more chance for bugs. If you really wanted to, at this point, you could go through a startup procedure. You know, you request the ground power and you go through all your procedures to start up the aircraft on your own, and then you taxi to the hole short and you proceed from there. I don't do that because too many times I've crashed into invisible walls on the taxi. And sometimes I've even gone down in like parts of the taxiway would be like the ground wouldn't be smooth, it would be very unlevel, and my wheel would go down and cause my plane to tip to the side, and then I would crash a wing and the mission has failed after going through all of that. So it is possible to start up on taxi, but I don't recommend it. It's not worth the risk, and we have come quite a way so far to get to this point. So at this point, I would just skip to takeoff. And there are always some very tense moments leading
Captain,
up
we're down
to
to only
this point.
25% of fuel.
Is an opportunity for the game to crash. But sometimes you just gotta give it a little while and wait, and it loads in just fine.
111 ready for departure runway 27L IFR to LF Therios Venizelos.
Guys, usually once you get to this point, you don't have any issue at all, and the flight is 100%, or the mission at least is 100% passable
Clear for
at this
takeoff
point.
runway 27L Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111.
Of course, there's always a
Ladies
random
and
crash
gents, please
here and
fasten
there.
your seatbelts and secure all baggage underneath your seat or in the overhead compartments. Place your
So
seats
now at
and
this
table
point
trays
in
the upright
time,
position.
once I've
Turn off
gotten all my
personal electronic
clearances,
devices, including
I
laptops
can now
and cell
come
phones, and prepare for
and
takeoff.
dial in whatever I want to dial in my flight controls. Just gonna do the LNAV and the vertical speed on this flight for now. So this isn't really a tutorial on how to operate this aircraft and the avionics, but I will go through this procedure, though my figures may not be accurate, but that's not a problem. We're gonna just do the bare minimum to get things working. As I said, I'm not doing, this is not a tutorial on this aircraft, so I'm just speeding through what I need here in terms of the bare minimum to ensure that we get this thing going. No discontinuity, good. Page 1, vector, so I may just skip straight. So you see all these other legs that you're seeing here. Every time you have a leg, it's a room for disaster when you're actually gonna land the plane. So eventually I'm gonna move out all of these legs, but I'm gonna load this one here ready to replace. Sorry about that. So this one, and when I get in the air, I will go direct to this waypoint. Right? That's not really that relevant. Alright, so close that off. I don't actually need to set the course or anything. That will be done for me by the external software that I'll be using. At least up to how I need it to be done at least. So most of the bugs and most of the issues that prevent people from completing these missions stems from two main things: that the mission steps are bugged because they haven't been followed properly. That happens when you rush through the steps too quickly, in my opinion at least. And or contributing factor to that, sorry, is that all of the animations and so forth have sort of confused the sim. I give too much engine power because I want to keep my engines in good condition. Come back with power a little bit. And there's a vehicle on the runway.
V1, rotate.
Once we get to this point, we should be golden.
Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111 contact Philadelphia departure on 119er. 75. Good day.
Alright, so by executing the change on the MFS, I've just put us directly back onto the flight plan to head in the direction of
Philadelphia departure, Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111 is at 1,500 feet, climbing 11,000 feet.
And once everything is smooth here, I can't bump up the sim rate a little bit if I choose to do so to speed things along. Some nice bad weather, which is a good sign. That means we're gonna get a bad weather bonus. With the sim rate up, I just want to be cautious that if ATC contacts me, I pop it back down quickly and respond to them. Pull my flaps up so that we get that good speed. You know, the other thing that I've seen give problems is canceling IFR. If you cancel IFR, it's gonna make it more problematic. Try not to do that. Try not to cancel IFR on these flights. Sometimes it causes it to become more bugged.
1 Washington Center, altimeter tree 0. 20 radar, contact continue to Delta Mike.
Alright, so once I've reached cruise altitude, I can now inform the passengers.
Good morning, ladies and gents. This is your captain speaking. Today I'm assisted by co-pilot Kelly Conrad. Welcome aboard flight Cal 8111 inbound.
And from this point on, now you have the option to fly as normal, fly with sim rate, skip the descent, or the method that I'm going to use is that I'm going to drop my speed a little bit. I'm going to put down my gear, and then I'm going to pause the sim.
Please remain seated.
Okay guys, so if you're not interested in this part, you can just skip forward to when I actually land the plane, or when I put the plane on the ground, and then you will see what I do from there on. But if you are interested, so remember I'm paused, so I pull up the EFB, and then I'm gonna look at the airport ident, LGAV. This thing is really so nice to use. LGAV. And then just see sometimes this works perfectly and sometimes we have to change it, but the plan says runway 3R. We have runway 3R, so we put that there. And heading, yes. ILS frequency course. Gonna put us at 150 knots. And then we want to override altitude. Now let's just take a quick look at what 3R ILS is here. So approaches 3R. This is the one. See, it's in green. And we want to intercept that glide's slope really at 3200. They want us coming at 4000, but the intercept is at 32, so I usually set it for the intercept. So that's 3200. Right, so that's set. And it's supposed to set the heading course and ILS frequency for me. I have noticed sometimes that it differs slightly from what the EFB says, but I haven't had any issues with it, and sometimes I would just tweak it to what the EFB says just in case, because I would think that what the information we're getting from in the game is more real than what we get from here. But the runway elevation is 271. So if I was actually going to fly it in myself, which I do sometimes, it's good practice, I would take that into consideration. But in any case, so at this point now, I would put myself on, you have two options, but I have a lot of options. But for this reason, 3-mile final or 8 miles. So I'm going to choose the 8-mile final. And then you see the
2500.
The plane, the aircraft repositions completely 8 miles outside of the airport. Landing is supposed to be down, and sometimes it takes a little while for the scenery to load in. See, it's loading in, and you can see the airport in the distance there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna continue to fly this approach, and as I said, you can if you do use this method or any other method, you can't fly it straight in and land the aircraft. I'm actually not going to do that in this one, but you can do it. But what I must get, or what I should get to make things easier, is as many clearances in the mission steps as possible on this approach. So I like to be in the cockpit and ready to hold on to the yoke and whatnot, just in case something is amiss.
Captain, we're ready to serve lunch.
Boeing Charlie Alpha
Request
Lima
permission to begin in-flight service.
Ladies and gents, our cabin crew will start the lunch service in a few moments. Please take your seat. Enjoy.
Alright, so acknowledge assigned
Maintain
approach.
present heading and altitude. Expect ILS Zulu runway 21L approach via Sierra Papa Alpha 69er radial 14 DME yard. Clear to Sierra Papa Alpha. Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111. Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111, contact Athens approach on 130-025. Good day.
So we acknowledge the handoff.
Go to 130-025, Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111. Athens approach, Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111 is passing 2,900 feet, climbing 11,000 feet.
What to set this? Usually I would set this to whatever
Charlie
the
Alpha
ILS
Lima
was.
8111 Athens approach, QNH 1014 radar contact, continue.
And now what
Boeing Charlie
do we
Alpha
nav
Lima
that's required?
8111 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Climb and maintain 6,000 foot, Boeing Charlie Alpha Lima 8111.
So I inform the passengers. The more you inform the passengers, is the better rating you'll get. If you miss any of the opportunities to inform the passengers of anything on your flight, they would be less satisfied with
Pass
you.
any remaining service items to the flight attendants. Thank you.
Okay, Okay, so at this point I would have hoped that I would have gotten the land on runway prompt, but I have not. Now I could mess around and fly around here some more if I wanted to until I get that prompt, but there's no real need to do that. So what I'm gonna do, because in this scenario I am just gonna land the aircraft, and what I am gonna do now, so this says 271, it's not always accurate, and you can verify that with what the game says. I'll put like 274, just a couple of feet above what that is. Set my speed to 0. Everything else can remain the same, that doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to click on takeoff. Now sometimes this will happen. Actually it happens a lot where now I'm paused, right? So it puts me here. So I'm not going to unpause like this, but what I will do, have no fear. First I'll try the left runway, hit the same button and see if it puts me in the right place. It does not. So I'll go back again and now I'll go to runway 21. Take off. This one looks promising. Okay, so I'm on the runway, right? Yes, I'm on the runway. So on the runway, gear down, wheels look good. Make sure my throttle is set to 0 for whatever reason. I'm getting some stick drift. Alright, cool. So now I'll unpause. So I got a little ding here because flight plan didn't want me on this runway. So what I could have done to circumvent that before I actually made the last switch, while pause, I could have come to the EFB, which is what I wanted to show you on action, and then I wanted to just change procedure to runway, whichever one I'm on, and then I want to remove the LIS approach, so I'll have direct, and then once I have that and this arrival approach, I will change that as well to direct. Everything I want direct to this runway. Then I would have filed with ATC, and then I would not have gotten that last ding, as we like to call it. But it's fine, one thing is fine. The thing is sometimes you'll land and it just won't even acknowledge that you're at the airport. And you just be sitting down there like, what's going on? You're trying to contact ATC, nothing is happening. All you do is you go in to your flight plan, change your arrival airport, and remove any waypoints in the flight plan. All you should be saying is that you're at your destination target with no approach, no arrival selected, and you're on the runway, or you select the runway that you're on in the flight plan, file with ATC, come back to the game, and then everything should work smooth from there. So I was kind of hoping that I would have ended up on the runway with no notifications at all, so I could have shown you that, but for whatever reason it acknowledged that I landed at the airport, but just that I was on the wrong runway or undesignated area, which is fine, it still works, but it would have been more beneficial for the purpose of this video if that hadn't happened, which it doesn't always happen. But I still walked you through the steps.
Ladies and gents, welcome to LF Theriault's Venizelos International Local Time is 5:56 p.m.
Right, and again guys, I'll go through it very quickly again, right? So it's very simple. You land at the correct airport that you're supposed to be in, but tower isn't telling you anything, ground isn't telling you anything. You can't get the ATC window to work. Just come to the EFB and adjust your flight plan. Remove all of the procedures. I'll even remove the departure procedure and make it direct. So everything is direct at the correct airport, at the correct runway, and then you file plan. And all of a sudden, boom, it snaps back into reality and you can continue with the mission. Now That parking stand is a bit too far for my liking. Too many times have I been burnt where I'm taxiing to the stand and then somewhere here, boom, I fall long into a giant crater that I can't see. My wheels get damaged, my aircraft crashes, mission is failed. Or taxiing along this part of the taxiway, bam, an invisible wall that I can't see takes me out. So I am going to skip the shutdown. And in doing so, I have actually, worked out great this time, and I loaded it immediately. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes you go in a black loading screen and you spend 2-3 minutes there panicking, worrying. Did I waste my time? Did I crash the mission? And then it loads in and you're fine. Other times, sometimes it will still crash and you still wouldn't succeed. And then sometimes, like this time, it just loads very quickly. So of course, because I didn't land the aircraft, there was no opportunity for me to damage it. So I got almost 100%. The passengers were very satisfied because I informed them as much as I could. Airline procedures took a little ding because they registered as an undesignated area. All in all, I still got an A rating, which isn't too bad. I didn't have to put wear and tear on my PC and GPU with a long flight. I didn't have to skip the descent and miss out on all of the credits. As you can see here, I got a nice payout, $23 million, and everything works fine and dandy. Right, the rating took a slight hit, but that's okay. I'm okay with the A rating for now. And yeah, so that's about it. So guys, I have gone through, when Sim Update 1 first came out, I spent 3 days crashing the aircraft over and over on the taxiway, not being able to finish missions, and just sort of trying to work through the bugs and operate in the manner which I just displayed. I'm now able to complete these missions, I would say at least 95% of the time, and the bugs are a non-issue for me at this point. I've just purchased my third 737, and well, you saw that flight was $22 million for that one flight alone. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think you can implement these same strategies with other VIP missions if you're having issues with them. I'm not sure. I haven't really done the VIP missions recently because I have gotten this one to work and it does pay out very nicely. So I've stuck with this for the time being. So thanks again for watching. If it was helpful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more content similar to this, and let me know what you want to see next in the comments. Thanks a lot. See you in the next one.